From the studio of WTAP Plus, you're watching Women of the MOV with host Phyllis Smith.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me for this Women of the MOV podcast. Today is St. Patrick's Day. That's why I've got this little leprechaun on me. But today my guest is Margaret Hoschar, and she is the director of CASA. And I'm going to put the camera over on her. There's Margaret. Hello, Margaret.
Hello, Phyllis.
How are you?
I'm fine today.
Good, good. So, Margaret, tell us a little bit more. Okay, I know we were talking before the interview started that a lot of people aren't even sure what CASA is. So, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Okay, the foundation is called Voices for Children Foundation, and it is a CASA program. CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate. It is a national nonprofit organization. There are 11 different programs here in the state of West Virginia. My particular program covers Woodward, Ritchie, and Pleasants County. And it is when a child is removed from their home due to abuse and neglect, the Department of Health and Human Services, Child Protective, has to petition for legal custody. They send that petition to the circuit judges, and then the judges send it to me, and then we become the voice for the child as an advocate to make sure that their interests are met while they're out of home.
And how long have you been doing this work? Did you say 40 some years?
No.
Oh, that's how long you've been married.
I was like, God, don't look that old on camera. No, I've been doing the program, running the program for 26 years.
Oh, okay.
I relocated from the Charleston area 40-some years ago.
Yes. So now do you work closely with the court system then?
Yes, we go into the court hearings that are closed, confidential hearings because all the children are under the age of 18. But we are the only nonprofit group allowed in the courtroom during the hearings because we are the voice for the child. We meet with the children on a monthly basis to ensure that their needs are being met, that the placement they're in is a safe, good environment for them, giving them stability. And then we follow the parents' improvement plan. When the parents get like 6 months to kind of correct the deficits that brought forth the petition, we monitor their improvement plans and report to the court in a written court report how the parents are doing and how the children are doing.
I'm sure you've seen some pretty harrowing cases in your years.
There's been some really tragic ones over the course of the years.
How do you get through that? I'm sure it takes its toll.
It can spill over into your private personal life when you go home and someone's griping about something in the home and you're like, yeah, but you weren't a 3-year-old got beat today, But so you got to be kind of objective about it, but you also still want to have the passion in your heart to make sure that this child is safe and will be safe.
So you train, CASA has a lot of volunteers, right?
We have volunteers. They are just community people that we put through a brief training, and then they shadow with me, and I have one other staff person to, understand the court system, what they're supposed to do, how they approach meeting the parents, the child, and then let them, I guess, better phrase would be get their legs underneath and feel comfortable on their own, and then they go on their own and be the advocate.
So are you an advocate or are you the director?
I do both. I do all the administrative.
She does it all.
Yeah, I do all the administrative stuff. I write the grants because we are, as I always say, we operate on grants and groveling.
Double G's.
Yeah, double G's, yeah. We, have grants that, a lot of community support with local foundations that, believe in our mission. And then we have fundraisers. We just send letters to business people to, hey, we want these children to be our next generation of good citizens in the community.
How many cases at a time would one advocate handle?
It depends on their tenure, I would say. I have volunteers that's been with me for probably 15 years or better. They can juggle, 5 or 6 cases, and depends on how many children are in the case. You can have just one child. I've had up to 8 before. 4 in one family.
Have you noticed, has abuse gotten worse over time?
Well, yes, it's gotten really bad in the last several years because of the drug pandemic around this town. We have a lot of parents that are, sadly to say, that are addicted, and being addicted with their substance, it impairs their ability to properly parent.
What inspired you to get into this line of work?
Well, when I left college and started a job in Charleston, I went into the nonprofit side of organizations and did that for about 10 years before I moved to Parkersburg. And then I ran a couple little small ones around here. And then this one just kind of came up, and I'm like, well, kids were in school. I was looking for something to do. I'd never heard of CASA, never heard of this type of work, but I applied as the director because of the experience in nonprofit, and then it just became a real passion of mine. I mean, these children need us.
Where did you go to college?
WVU.
Oh, nice. So you're a mountaineer.
Yeah.
Oh, what was your undergrad in?
Speech pathology.
Oh.
And audiology.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Totally different course.
well, I'm sure that kind of came in handy.
Well, in a sense, yes. And I learned sign language so I can, if we have children, and I have had children that are deaf, that I have been able to communicate with. And trying to brush up on my Spanish because we have some Hispanic children that sometimes they need people to talk to. But then I do have community resources that help me in the community.
Do you have to collaborate with other nonprofits a lot through CASA?
Well, we work directly a lot with the CPS workers, obviously, but we do have what's called memorandum of understanding, that like with the domestic violence shelter, the prosecutor's office, people like that the sheriff department, the police department, because we come in contact with them a lot doing the investigation of these cases.
So it sounds like it takes a lot of coordination to do.
It does.
all that.
It takes a village.
Yes, yes. Is there anything that you wish people knew about child abuse or that people may overlook?
Well, sometimes I think people can turn a blind eye, especially when the family all kind of doesn't want their laundry aired. But I think a lot of people now have an understanding more about how bad child abuse can be. It used just to be, we'll just keep this within the house, don't say anything about it. But now I think people are standing up and saying, this child needs help. Teachers in the school systems, counselors in the school system are mandatory reporters. So they do notice, when a child needs some tender loving care.
So does every child get an advocate?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they may not get a CASA volunteer advocate, but my staff and I make sure no child goes underserved. We will take the case, monitor the case ourselves, so that child will have someone to be their voice.
Was there ever a moment you just thought, wow, like the work I'm doing is really making a difference?
Yes. Oh, yes. When you see these children going to a safe place that, the sexual abuse, the physical abuse, and even the emotional abuse is no longer going to happen to them, then yes, it's rewarding. It's a good feeling to know that that child's safe. I have had children that aged out that have come back to me and thanked me.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I also feel like sometimes people don't realize that oftentimes, I think, growing up, we're told, don't get in the creepy van or like stranger danger. But I think sometimes child abuse hits much closer to home than people might realize.
Yeah, it's not so much the stranger danger, or come over here and see this new puppy I got, and then you're gone. No, it is within the home. The parents just, they have issues, domestic violence, physical fighting between the parents that the children see. I mean, that's very emotional and scarring to a child. Like I said, obviously physical abuse to the child. Parents not having the patience with little ones that cry. I mean, I've seen shaken baby syndromes. I've seen children scalded. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's bad.
We've reported on that several times about shaken baby syndrome.
Yeah.
It's, they,
Yeah.
they get frustrated and they shake the baby, and
Right.
we've reported on many of those.
Well, like I say, the step back, take a breath. Let the child cry a minute. I mean, shaking it or squirming when you're trying to change a diaper and the baby's crying. It's not going to correct the problem.
It sounds like it must be an incredibly difficult cycle to break for these kids that are so traumatized.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's one thing CASA does. We make sure, when I say to see that their needs are being met, educational, if they need an IEP or 504, we need to get with the school system and work that out, get them into therapy. Even at young ages, like 3 and 4, they have play therapy. One thing I learned, that when you go see children, no matter how bad the abuse has been to them, they still sometimes won't tell, exactly what all has occurred to them. I mean, you have the North Star, Child Advocacy Center that brings them in for a forensic interview, but it's a question and answer. I like an atmosphere where they're just relaxed. They do explain that you're on camera. So it makes kids I think, a little more reserved, because they don't want to really tell for fear, one, that they're going to get mom, dad, boyfriend, whoever in trouble, and two, they're afraid that it's because they told it's going to happen more. So I have these, what I call adult coloring books. It's like the ones that kind of look like paint by numbers. And if it's a teenager, I take in colored pencils. And in one of these coloring books, I have one that I take in and, just sit down with them and say, do you like to do this? And then I start just, coloring, or, with young children, coloring with, kid crayon book and with crayons. With more of a teenage, or 11 to 15, I take in the colored pencils and this coloring book, and then I just start, doing it, and like, show me what you can do. And then, as everybody's getting comfortable, and I'll just say, hey, how was your visit with mom today? And they are distracted in a sense that they feel comfortable with me, and we just talk, but we don't really make eye contact. We just, I don't want them to feel pressured or stressed. I just want to get to know them. I want them to get to know me and know that it's a trusted person.
So you also help to place them in foster homes?
No,
No,
that
okay.
is the CPS position. They work with Children's Home Society, NECO, places like that are foster agencies. But once the child is placed, then we go see the child. I don't do it until the second hearing, because the parents go to a prelim just to get the case on the docket. Then there's an adjudicatory, which is kind of like a trial without a jury. They can do all the evidence, or the parents can stipulate. But I don't go see the children until after there's been an adjudicatory hearing that says, yes, these parents did commit this, or no, that there was not enough burden of proof to say they did it. Because these children have, new foster parents, or going to grandma's. They may have to change schools. They have a CPS worker coming in to talk to them. They're appointing a guardian ad litem, which is their attorney. So they have all these people coming at them constantly. So I just wait till, like, what I call the honeymoon period in the foster home is done. Then I make contact with the foster people, introduce myself, and then go see the children.
So you're kind of there to help support them?
Yes. And the foster families can reach out to me, any of the advocates, and just say, hey, they came home from a visit today, their behaviors was horrible, or they came home from a visit and, they're 7 years old, but they're wedded to bed, this has been going on after. So they tell us this kind of stuff so we can kind of check and see where the stress from when the child's coming from.
Has there ever been a moment where you felt it was just too much, or that it was just...
But yeah, I'm not going to say there hasn't been, but it's not been to the point that I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. When I get to those points, you just kind of do a little recharge, kind of step back and think about all the good, the reunification that you've made when the parents did complete something and the parents are successful and they thank CASA, that children are home with them. There's been cases when the children go home and I've had a feeling in my heart that this isn't going to last. Once the eyes are off of everybody, here we go again. And it's come to fruition, yes. They've come remove the children again. So that's when I'm like, gloves off, parents. I'm going to try to be nice, try to help you. But now it's going to be all about the quality for the children.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if it's very common for the child to end back up with the parents.
Oh, yes. I mean, our mission is for reunification. I mean, I think every child needs to be with their family, but there's just some situations going straight in, it's not going to happen. I mean, especially in like physical or sexual abuse cases. I mean, the sexual abuse case isn't going to end well. Someone's going to jail, and this child's going to be, maybe adopted in foster care, maybe reunited with a non-offending parent, depending if that non-offending parent is found to be non-protective of the child.
Is there anything about children that you've learned over the years, like their resiliency? Is there anything about children that surprised you through all these cases?
Well, each case is a different case, and each child's a different child, but yes, their resiliency to overcome can be strong. There's been kids that test you, Actually, I went and saw some kids the other day, and every time I was trying to talk to this little boy, he just went, like he was falling asleep. I'm like, don't do that, and he'd laugh. And so I told him, you always say, hey, listen, I raise boys. There's nothing you're going to do that's going to shock me. And
Yeah.
so they laugh about it. But yeah, sometimes, you always have to be on the side of the child. But there's been times I've raised children, and I know some can be defiant, and you just think, all right, how much is this you and the parents? But, bridge the gap, bring them together, and, get help for everybody.
So, are there any needs that CASA has right now that the community could help with, or you have any projects going on?
I don't have any project at this point. We just had a big fundraiser in February, but the need is volunteers. We need more community volunteers to help. I want them to understand they don't house the children, they don't transport the children, they just make contact with the child once a month to make sure everything's going well. Now, foster care is a very tight ship right now. There's a lot of kids in foster care all over the state, but they may have difficulties finding a child in Wood County, a Wood County child in Wood County. So that child may have to be placed in the Huntington area. We do offer a little stipend for travel if they, make the trip, but they can also, and we've learned this from the pandemic, FaceTime, video chat, things like that, just to ensure, and again, age of the child, you're not going to get a lot out of a 6-month-old if you drive to Huntington, but you will be able to see at least once the foster home, the stability in the home, the foster's care and attention to the child. That's a big thing. Sometimes, they have several foster kids in the home, and I just want to make sure that none of our children are overlooked.
So, how would someone go about becoming a volunteer?
They just need to contact my CASA Voices for Children Foundation office, and we can send them an application package. We'll send them a little information package about what CASA is, what we do, how to become one, and we put them in training.
Is that the local office or?
Yes.
Okay. Are you in downtown Parkersburg?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I'm right near the Blennerhassett.
Okay. Okay. Well, Margaret, is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I just would like to make sure that people know that we're out there. We're helping the children. I mean, we're representing right now probably close to at least 400 children.
Wow.
Yeah.
Across all the counties or just Wood?
That's mainly Wood County. We have, maybe 5 or 6 cases in Wirt, and 2 or 3 in Pleasant. They're not as high volume, but they don't have also the, the demographics of the number of people in those areas either.
Right, right. Well, thank you, Margaret, for coming on today.
Thank you,
I
Phyllis.
love
I've enjoyed
your
it.
I love your
Oh, yeah, my
shamrock.
little-
Yeah, it's very
Once
very,
a year.
Yes, very festive. Yes. Well, everyone, that was Margaret Hoschar, and she joins me on my latest Women of the MOV podcast. And I will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.